You guys, let's talk about systems. What business are we in? What business are we in? Or what business are you in? Relationship business, people business, relationships, absolutely. And put a pin in that, relationships. I'm gonna bring that back up, but if I don't, remind me. Yeah, what else? Usually somebody will get the answer that I'm looking for. Now there's what, 21 of us on here. What business are we in? Negotiations. Yeah. And I said this is a safe place. I've heard babysitting, hand-holding, sales. Let me give you a little analogy, and then maybe this will help. So athletes need food and water for their body to run optimally, right? Obviously an exercise, but food and water, you need food and water, very important. So as agents and brokers, we need listings and we need buyers, right? We need listings and buyers. But just like athletes, if they don't have air, it doesn't really matter how much food and water they have or how talented they are, they're not going far. So when I ask what business we're in, I always like to boil it down to its core, its bare necessity. We need leads. We're in the lead generation business. If we don't have leads, our business is going to do what it's probably doing, the ups and downs, right? Super busy when you have listings or you have buyers, you're doing everything you can to meet their needs. And then once you've done that, if you haven't been prospecting, business starts to, slow down because we got to get back in prospecting mode. But really, we should never really leave that prospecting mode. No buyer, no seller should ever distract us so much so that we're no longer lead generating. But who stops us from having all the business that we want? It's us, right? We get in the way. I'm talented. Okay, so we're in the lead generation business. Yeah, we're in the lead generation business. But I'm talented, but I have my bad days. I have my good days. I can lose track of time or motivation or whatever, but I get in my own way. So I stop myself from having all the business that I want to have. So these 4 systems that we have up here on the screen right now are what we implemented in our commercial business to ensure that we always had leads coming in and a safe way to convert or prospect those leads. So the grid up at the top of the screen, the grid, this is actually what Michael's teaching right now. This is what we go over in our 3-day, and at the very end of class today, I will be going over a bit of the grid system. I'll just have enough time to touch on it, but it'll give you a nice idea of and kind of open your mind up to the different sort of investors that are out there. But the grid is a systematic way of going about getting listings, getting commercial listings. Now, it's almost common knowledge, but it always kind of baffled me when I was a residential agent, how these full-time commercial brokers were double-ending their deals. Anybody else struggle with that? Like, for instance, as a residential agent, I'll take a listing, pretty much any listing. I can take a listing as long as it's priced right, staged right, or desirable area, I market it correctly. I know that if there's a buyer out there, the buyer will come to me, but I never could pick up the phone and call the buyer. But that's what these commercial agents are doing. And they're not doing this on $1 million deals. They're doing this on 10, 20, 30, $40 million deals. We have coaching members that are getting $300,000 checks from the business that they're able to generate with these commercial investors. And it always blew my mind, how are they doing that? So what we ended up doing was we created this internet system, and this isn't a new concept, but this is this is how they're doing it. If you go to, and I'll actually put this in the chat, Teletair.com. This is Kevin Simpson's website. He's one of our coaching members, and he works hand in hand with Michael Simpson, no relation, on building this internet system. If we're getting sellers from our grid, what do you think is coming from the internet? And then I'll finish the story about Teletair. What's coming from the internet? Buyers, exactly, buyers. Buyers are coming from the internet. So system like Kevin's is what ours looks like, but you can go there later and check it out. But this website is generating leads. Buyers are coming in, they're talking about what they want, what they're looking for. We're setting up meetings, qualifying them, making sure that they are ready, willing, and able to purchase. So that when we get a listing, whether it be an exclusive or a pocket listing, where's the first place that it goes? Does it go to CoStar? Does it go to LoopNet? No, actually, the first place that these listings go, again, whether they be exclusive or not, exactly, is to that buyer system. This is how the full-time commercial brokers are doing this. So they take that off-market deal or that exclusive deal, they send it to their internet system. At present, our internet system has over 2,000 ready and willing buyers in it. So you send it to that internet system, and let's just say they don't want it. They look at it, nobody's asking any questions, they don't want it. Then where does it go? Well, again, full-time commercial firm, full-time commercial broker, it'll go to maybe their office, because each of those brokers in there have their own buyers. They'll send it to that and those internet systems, or to those brokers, and those brokers will feed it into their internet systems. So you have 2,000 of our investors that have looked at it, all those investors from all those other agents that have looked at it. And then where does it go? Well, maybe then it goes to the national chain, or to a couple other offices. Again, they pick over it, they look at it. After that point, then it hits CoStar and LoopNet. Not saying that you can't find great deals there, but I'm just, again, whether you, I know a lot of you weren't here last year or last class, just to share with you, it was kind of mind-opening to me, because I was so MLS dependent. Now I at least know where and how they're double-ending deals. But again, this is on $10 million listings. This is on $20 million listings. Even that really fun spot between 1 and 5 million, they're double-ending these deals because they're working these two systems together. So these are two systems that we recommend or encourage. Our 3-day classes on the grid system, this class and our series and our 1-day class, that really goes over the buyer side of the transaction, the buyer system. Sphere of referral, or sphere of influence and referrals. This is where I like to come in to do these classes, because you have opportunities there. I know each and every one of you, with your past clients, with the people who know, love, and trust you, there's a deal there. And it's just ferreting it out. More often than not, when we've helped somebody buy a house or their personal place of residence, we don't necessarily see them as an investor. If we've read any Robert Kiyosaki or anything like that, we know that a home is more of a liability than an asset. But when your investors don't know, when your sphere of influence and your referral system, when they don't know that you actually do commercial, they don't talk to you about it. This is a great place for you to start reaching out and contacting people, letting them know that you're getting into commercial. Because just like you all said, I think there are like 3 or 4 people that talked about relationships. I've never done a deal with somebody I didn't have a relationship with. And how wonderful is, and I'm trying to look at all the good stuff in 2020, because there's a lot of bad. I don't need that drama. But how wonderful has this time been, where the world is now getting comfortable with Zoom meetings. I left the class that I was doing with Michael this morning around 9:30, no drive time. I didn't even have to get ready. I just closed the screen, opened another screen, and now I'm here in San Diego with you. But this is a great time to be building relationships. And as residential agents, whether you're full-time or part-time or looking to get into commercial, this is a great time to be capturing and growing the relationships that you have with people, because a lot of people are just, they're nervous, they're scared, aren't they? They don't know what's going on. And I've done this. I've had coaching members that do this, where they're calling just to check in on people. One of our coaching members, Donovan, was talking to a elderly couple that he's worked with a couple times, and he was just calling to see if they need help with groceries, things like that. I'm not saying that you have to go that far, but initially they didn't believe him. They thought that he was calling to ask if they wanted to buy or sell. And he kept turning the conversation away from that. He's like, that's not the reason for my call. I know you, and I know where you live. I know where you guys are at. If you need anything, I'm here to help. The wife ended up hanging up on him because she just didn't believe it. Husband calls back and he says, you know, are you being serious right now? Is that really what the reason that you called? He says, yeah. He says, well, you know, we're fine. Got our kids here. They're taking care of us. They live close by. But man, he was just shocked. He was surprised. And then the conversation did move to what their plans were for 2021, 2022. And they said, of all the people that have called us, nobody's called just to check up on us. But when we are interested in buying or selling, we will call you first. So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but it was just a powerful example of how this time can be used wisely with this sphere and with these referrals. Now, let me just clear this up. I know that we say when the question is asked, when should we ask for a referral? The answer is usually anytime, all the time. But I can think of one example that makes that not true. If a property falls out of escrow, that's probably not the best time to ask. And that is what stops this process from being systemized, because we just say all the time. But there should be specific times when we ask for referrals. When we take a listing or sign the contract, when we get an offer, when we open escrow, when we close escrow. Those are just 5 specific times that no matter what you're doing, where you're at, what's going on, how many other deals you're working on, where your sphere should be tapped or targeted with a message asking for more opportunities. So if we're getting buyers or sellers from the grid, our buyers are being taken care of by the internet system. Our sphere is being handled as well. Those are 3 different sources. These are systematic, automatic ways or automated ways of getting business and opportunity. What is that 4th system, Stephen? Well, stands for market of the moment. And let me type that in the chat. Market of the moment. We know that our industry or our business has changed due to what's going on with COVID, but it's not just that. There's always something going on. And because of Zoom, I'm now, instead of just teaching classes, like right now, I'm just in San Diego, but when we do our series, we have agents from all over the US coming to those classes, talking about their different markets, talking about the opportunities, talking about what's going on. Let's say, for instance, with office in their area, what's going on with multifamily or storage. Medical marijuana is a huge topic. But this is the system that you adjust when there are shifts in the market. We should be tracking things like days on the market and inventory, all that stuff. We should be tracking that so that it's not the news that's telling us things have changed, but we know that there's probably going to be a shift here. So what should I do? We have a huge short sale REO background, and so that's one of the systems that you can put here. But it can be a marketing system, it can be a mail or something like that. But these other 3, the grid, the internet, and the sphere, those are happening all the time, regardless of the market, regardless of what's going on. Market of the moment is where you make your adjustments and where you shift things. So we should be having 6 to 8 conversations a day, 6 to 8 conversations a day about commercial real estate. How many of us are having 6 to 8 conversations a day about commercial real estate? Anybody want to put that in the chat? How many conversations are you having currently? And I'll keep talking while you put that in there, because I know we're short on time and I got a lot to get through. But a system saves yourself time, energy, and money, obviously, because it's automated. But 6 to 8 conversations. Anybody having 6 to 8 conversations a day? And if so, great. Okay, Ken, how many are you having? 3 to 5, sometimes more. Okay. Currently none. All right. Currently none because you're in class with me? Oh, I'm just starting to explore. Okay, perfect. Just kidding. Yeah, no, sometimes, and you're right, sometimes it is. It's a goose egg. You guys, I'm the business development manager with the NCREA, and I prospects 4 to 6 hours a day. And sometimes even I am just leaving messages all day. So I get it. But I've done 2 to 4 units. All right, I'm seeing information. Thanks for posting your that info in there. I love the networking capabilities of Zoom. So it's a great place to meet friends. So 6 to 8 conversations, and it can be hard. And the reason that it can be is because it piles up, right? If you're having 6 to 8 conversations, well, 6 times 5, we're looking at 30, 35 conversations, maybe 40 conversations a week that we need to get to. If you have, like Angela was saying, if you have a goose egg on Monday, now you got to get 12 for Tuesday, and it can pile up really quick, which is why, again, we recommend systemizing your business. Now, when you start out, you're not going to have all 4 of these systems running at optimal efficiency. I suggest picking one, whether you want to do or work with listings, or you want to work with buyers. Pick one. A great place to start, though, just to steer you a little bit, is with the Sphere. Starting there and leading with revenue. Get a couple deals. I'm never going to recommend that you go out and you just start signing up for all these different tools and services. There are a lot of workarounds with that stuff, you guys. But if you're bringing in leads on a regular basis from one system, it's a lot easier to move into another. But that's how we have 6 to 8 conversations every single day. Every single day we need to have 6 to 8 conversations, because if you just did the time blocking, focused on making sure that you're having 6 to 8 conversations a day, the rest of your business would take care of itself. But I also know another reason why a lot of us are here is, like I said, the number one reason is usually we're just checking it out, or we've had an opportunity, didn't know how to close it, and we lost the opportunity. That's happened to me before. So I want to give you some things that you can say. We're going to start talking about terminology, but I know that that's a big hang up. Like, what do I say? Worst case scenario, what you don't want to end up doing is doing the realtor ramble, right? The realtor ramble, where you're just talking to talk, hoping that you say a couple of things that sound impressive and this person wants to work with you. But that's usually not what happens. So are there any questions on anything that we've covered so far? I don't like my CRM client look, looking for something better. Angela, that's actually a really good topic. I'm not going to bring it up right now, but I'm actually looking into a new one right now for the same reason. How do we walk more with commercial realtors? How do we work with more commercial realtors? Let me go through this next part, Craig. Don't forget that question, but let me go through this next part and see if that answers your question. Actually, it's 2 or 3 parts in, but let's talk terminology, you guys, because we want to sound, whether we've been doing this for 1 day or 10 years, we want to sound professional, right? We want to sound as though we know what we're talking about. And it's like learning another language when it comes to commercial. So let's talk terminology. What's upside? what is upside? Or let me take a step back. How do we determine the value of commercial real estate? Let's keep it simple. We'll talk about multifamily, 10-unit property. How do we determine the value of commercial real estate? Realtor ramble, guilty. You're not the only one, Angela. You're not the only one. I've done it. I teach these classes and I've done it because I just got nervous and couldn't get it out right. But what is upside, you guys? Or I'm sorry. How do we determine the value of commercial real estate? NOI divided by cap rate. Absolutely. But what is the value based on? Not just the calculation, but what is the value based on? By how much money we can make. Yes, more specific, money where? The income, exactly. The income of the property. Easiest way to spot someone who is not familiar with commercial real estate. I'm sure you've seen these. And if this is you, we can help you get this fixed. But you see a commercial or a multifamily posting, it's a 5-unit building. There was a 4-unit building that sold for $500 in the area. There was a 10-unit building that sold for $700 in the area. So they take their 5-unit and they put it right smack dab in the middle, saying it's about $700 or $600,000, right? But that's using the comparable approach. That's not how we determine the value of commercial real estate. 5 and up is commercial, 4 and below residential. I know you all know this, but I'm teaching, so I have to be thorough. It's based on the income, future and present value. Yes. What is the income? But it's all the number one, the most important thing with that multifamily building, not necessarily where it's at, what it looks like. It's based on the income. So with that being said, what is upside? What is upside? Upside potential. Stephen, I'm looking for something with upside. Angela, Alicia, Carlos, I'm looking for something with upside. What does that mean? What is upside? Opportunity. Yes. Opportunity for what though? Give me the full answer to that. Growth of, yes, opportunity to increase the income. So if the income, opportunity might increase the value, and NOI, yes. NOI is the net operating income. So if my NOI is 100,000 and I can increase it to 105,000, I've increased the value of my property because it's only gone up 5,000, but I've increased the value of the property. And we'll see how little changes like that can actually have a big impact on what the price is. So what are some different types of upside? Different types of upside potential. Low rents, so yes, increasing the rents. Number one thing you'll hear, and I love it when investors will say, yeah, I'm looking for something with upside, Alicia. I'm looking for something where I can increase the rents. But rent control just passed, so I can't increase the rents in the area that I'm looking. So they give you exactly what they want, which is upside, because they want low rents and they want to increase those rents, walk in to some upside potential, but then they snatch it away from you right away. So what are some other ways? Repairs can increase value. So yes, deferred maintenance, fix it up, some elbow grease. Anything else that we can think of? Other sorts of upside potential? Rent, storage, laundry, poorly managed properties. Yes, decreasing expenses by getting a better operator in there. All these are great. I love these. Let's write these down. Distressed properties, evaluate property management, lower the cost. Lower the cost, and that goes to the next question. I'll come back to that in a second, Angela. But I've heard everything. Charging stations, they're doing the charging stations, storage, parking, any sort of fees, pet fees, late fees, mineral rights, oil rights, air rights. LA is right down the street, but we've all maybe been to LAX, or you've at least driven through there on the 405, and you see those huge commercial buildings and they have the signage or the posters on the side of them, the billboards, that's advertising dollars that building can count on pretty much every year, because of all the traffic that goes through there and those the people that are in marketing wanting to use their space. You see that in Vegas a lot too. But anything that we can do to increase the income is considered upside potential. So what would happen if you're meeting an investor and you ask them, considered, you looking for something with upside? They say, well, yeah, I'm looking for something where I can raise rents, but you can't do that here. And you came back, again, not doing the realtor ramble, but came back with suggestions. Have you considered looking at properties that have some deferred maintenance and fixing them up? Properties where you can find storage, parking. I had this investor who had a huge lot, but a smaller building on that huge lot, and he put storage units all behind. It was right by the beach, put storage units all behind his building on his land, and then rented those out to the local businesses and neighbors. Brilliant. I mean, my wife would never go for it, but I thought it was a brilliant way, an out of the box way. And you see a lot of that happening now, these out of the box ways of thinking, because even investors, as much as they know, they get narrow-minded on the way that they invest. So you coming in with the consultative approach with all these different options could open the door, right? What would they think of you if you asked them, are you looking for something with upside? And they gave you their one suggestion. You came with a laundry list of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different things, boom, 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 that you hit them with. What would they think about you and your skill set? Probably that you're knowledgeable, that you know what you're talking about, right? And this goes to Angela's point about lowering the cost. What is a master metered property? Master meter property. Let's stick with our 10-unit building. If I told you, oh, it's a 10-unit master metered building. What is that? I know you probably know, but just to kind of break the paradigm. Landlord pays for. You guys are my short answer crew. I like this. Pays for water, right? Pays for everything. Yeah, it's not everything. It's not a triple net lease or anything like that. It's landlord pays for utilities. So it could be water, gas, electricity, or it could be all three. And so to your point, Angela, that master metered property would have higher expenses than, let's say, a non-master metered property or a property with separate meters. And so we've had an investor, that's what they looked for. It was a hidden gem. That wasn't the only criteria that they had, but they loved when they found a property that had one of their other criteria in it, maybe deferred maintenance, and they were master metered, because they could have this other company that they worked with, which is a RUBS, and bring in a RUB system, renters utility billing system. Can somebody put that in the chat for me? I don't want to get too sidetracked, but renters utility billing system, RUBS, is an outside company that can come in and put in separate meters to lower those costs. So just like with my kids here, they don't pay for anything. So the lights are always on, the water's always running, nobody turns off the sink all the way. And so I got to pay for all of that. So if it was my 10-unit building, my expenses might be, let's say, upwards of 50%. Come in with that RUB system, lower, don't change anything else about the building, but I'm able to lower those expenses from 50 down to 35 and automatically walking into more upside potential. So make a note of that. It's a great thing to know. GRM, cost per door, cost per square foot. If you're not seeing these, you will if you're newer to commercial. These are all ways to kind of generalize price, these ballpark numbers when it comes to price. Cost per door, Stephen, I'm looking for something in this area. It's about $200 a door. So if it was a 10-unit building, $200,000 per door would be a $2 million building. The gross rent multiplier, GRM, gross rent multiplier, means a couple things, but we'll talk about it second meaning now, but that's another way of multiplying the scheduled gross income by the GRM or comparable GRM in the area to find out what the price is. Issues with that, which we will discuss, there are issues with ballparking other than lack of accuracy. But a lot of times in our classes, one of the things that we're trying to do is just help you look at different ways that you can use language to demonstrate your knowledge. Nobody wants to, or nobody really listens to us when we say, you know, oh, I've been in the business for 30 years and I'm really knowledgeable. That doesn't really mean anything to anybody for the most part, as far as building credibility. But when you're able to demonstrate it with the way that we talk, the ideas that we share, the information that we give, we're able to build trust. And again, as I said, I've never done a deal with somebody I didn't have a relationship with. And not that you need to go around and impress everybody, but what you do want to do is build trust. And you want to know what kind of investor you're working with. Is this a seasoned investor? You know, Stephen, did you bring me a seasoned investor, or did you bring me a novice that I'm going to have to teach everything? They have money. They want to invest, but they know nothing about this. Let me use some language and some terminology with them and on them to see if I can gauge where they're at before. I don't want to stop the screen share. Usually I'm able to stop it and look at everybody in the class. When we do our series, we operate it a little bit differently. So this is a little weird for me. It feels like I'm sitting in my house talking to myself. First of all, before I move on, are there any questions on that? Did everybody get that? Write it down, get all the information that they wanted from different types of upside, what master meter properties, GRM, cost per door. We good? Good. Okay. Before COVID, and Ken, you're answering for everybody right now. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Carlos. Thanks for chiming in. But before COVID, we would go to networking meetings. If you haven't, you can go to our Facebook page. We're on NCREA. You can just look up the NCREA on Facebook. Join our Facebook group, because usually we post virtual broker forums that we've been invited to, or we're speaking at, or we've gone to. And if you've ever been to one of these networking meetings, you know, but at these commercial broker forums or meetings, the best part, my favorite part, is they usually have a needs and wants section where we'll go round robin, where agents will share, you know, I have a buyer, I have a seller, I have a pocket listing, this is what it is. And you can gather information on the market and get to learn the players, get to learn who's out there. But now they've gone virtual. I've gone to about 4 or 5 this year, seen some amazing opportunities. Again, with this virtual format, it's expanded. It's a little bit different because I'm hearing about opportunities that aren't necessarily in my my area of focus or in my territory or whatever you want to call it. But I am getting a lot more exposure. And when it comes to commercial, you all know this, if you've been doing this for any period of time, is that your commercial clients will take you outside of your comfort zone, meaning they will take you into markets that you don't necessarily know a ton about. And so it's always great to partner up and collaborate with brokers in other areas. So again, you can meet your clients' needs. But when we could go in person, I mean, we've all done this. We've all gone. You go to these networking events, you meet an investor, and what do? The first thing we do is I always shake their hand, we introduce ourselves, and we hand them a business card, right? And if you've taken commercial sales or you've taken sales 101, you know that you don't necessarily just give out your info. You take it to the next level and you get their info. But both of those situations don't work, and we know that. I'm going to call them, and what are they going to do? When I call them to ask if they want to buy or sell commercial investment property, what are they going to do? They're not going to answer. They're definitely not going to call me. So we know that that doesn't work. We would sell. You know, Michael has, and I always leaned on his experience. Michael he's part of my team. He has an illustrious background. Top 1% of all commercial brokers in California. Top 3 commercial broker in California, Hawaii. We've been doing over 100 deals just in the past 12 months. Closed numerous transactions. We have a laundry list of buyers, all these things. And we're just talking. And what is that investor that we're talking to doing? They're ignoring, because we know the most important person in any conversation is who? It's them, or the person talking. Unfortunately, right now it's me. I look like I'm an attention junkie, but I'm not. I know that my clients want to talk. We know that our clients want to talk, but just like Angela says, we do the realtor ramble and we lose them because we're just selling and telling. So we stopped doing that, you guys, and we started consulting. How do you consult? Well, you ask great questions. And when you put it like that, it sounds great, but then you ask yourself, well, what are great questions? How can I ask questions in a way that make my client step forward when I'm talking rather than back up or just kind of shoo me away? How can I do that? Well, we actually came up with some great questions. So going to these commercial networking events or getting our clients on a Zoom call, or to ask them, so do you have a certain split requirement that you're looking for? And they may or may not have the answer to that. And I'd say, well, you're probably looking for something with upside potential. Most of the investors that I work with are looking for something with upside. Yeah, Stephen, I'm looking for something with upside. Perfect. So you're looking to do a value play versus something that's vanilla. And again, they may or may not know the answer to that, but let's just say they said, yeah, I'm looking to do a value play. Awesome. Now, let me ask you this. Are you looking to invest horizontally or are you looking to invest vertically? Now, after I ask those questions, whether it's live, it's on Zoom, it's in an elevator, hopefully everybody's wearing a mask. What do you think that person is thinking? What are you thinking right now? The delay is the best part. What do you think about those questions? You guys still there? I had another question in here. Sorry, how much per square foot? Carissa, can you ask your question again? I'm not understanding what that means. But what do you think about those questions? What is that? How did that sound? What do you think the investor is thinking after you ask those questions? Come on, Ken, help me out. Experienced? That you have a vested interest in their future. Wow, Paul, that's a powerful statement. Yes, these questions are not about me. All these questions are about my investor, as you know, and all the other tricks are in there, you guys, open-ended, all that stuff. But more importantly, just like you're probably thinking, because if I said, okay, that's the script that I want you to use, this one is for setting appointments, and I just went to the next slide, what information do you want to know? You want to decipher this, don't you? You want to know, well, what does this mean, Stephen? You're asking all these questions, but what does this mean? And that last question, usually we don't put that in this presentation, but I wanted to make sure that you guys had this. And we'll tie it in, but I don't have a lot of time to talk about it. Well, let me ask you this. Are you looking only at properties that are on the market, or are you looking for a good deal? This is your appointment setting script. This is your elevator script. Yes, anybody that you talk to will say that you can modify this, you can make it your own, all that other stuff. All I'm going to say is that this script has made me, myself, my coaching members, tons of money. So use it as it is. I'm going to go through it right now and kind of decipher it for you so that you know what you're saying, so that you can change the language depending on your investor's experience level. But aside from time blocking, if you get nothing out of this class, you're prospecting later today, tomorrow, this week, this is a great script to ask. You can use it on outgoing calls, incoming calls. This is a great script to use. So do you have a certain split requirement? What are splits? Splits are just bedrooms and baths. You can say unit mix as well. So splits, not your commission split, it is bedrooms and baths or unit mix. Some investors, you ask them, do you have a certain split requirement? And if they come right back and say, yeah, Stephen, I don't like ones and twos or ones and studios. I don't like that hotel feel. I like twos and threes. One, two things. You've gotten some valuable information, but what have you learned? This is a seasoned investor. So the game just got elevated because you have somebody who has done this before in front of you. So I like opening with that question. We talked about upside potential. What is a value play? What do you think a value play is? So you're looking for a value play. What is that? Have you ever seen the like a commercial marketing flyer, and it'll say this is a value add property? This is a value add. Whatever your upside potential is, that's your value play. So you know, Stephen, yeah, I'm looking for something with upside. I'm looking for tons of cash flow, but I need something that encourage involvement. Encourage involvement. I will. But value play would be looking for something with deferred maintenance so I can fix it up. Okay, so you're looking to fix it up. So your value play is to fix it up and obviously increase the value of the property. Whatever your upside is, whether it be adding coin operated laundry or charging stations or increasing the rents, that's your value play, trying to increase the value of the property. The versus something that's vanilla. What is vanilla? What does vanilla mean? If value play is your upside, what type of property would be a vanilla property? Go ahead and throw it in the chat if you know, or if you have a guess. There are no wrong answers. I want you to leave with all the right answers, but I'd love to know what we're thinking. Turnkey, right and one, perfect. Turnkey, and again, you can use that language. You can say, are you looking for something that you can fix up, or are you looking for something that's turnkey? But vanilla would be just that. It would be a property that you can invest in, safe, stable asset. If I buy a property down by Santa Monica Pier, right? Property down by Santa Monica Pier, I'm probably not buying that property because I'm going to do all kinds of renovations and fix it up. I'm parking my money. It's a trophy property. I'm going to invite you guys down there and say, hey, we're doing all our Zoom calls from this building when you know, when we can do that. But who likes those types of investments? Wealthy people, busy people, people who have money to invest but don't have the time to babysit and manage a property manager. They don't want to deal with toilets, tenants, and trash, the 3 T's. REITs, real estate investment trusts, they love those sorts of safe, stable assets because, again, they're just banking on the appreciation. So there's vanilla, there's value play. My favorite question, or one of my favorite questions, are you looking to invest horizontally or are you looking to invest vertically? It means a whole bunch of nothing. Horizontally just means that I'm spread out. I have 10 units here in California, 10 units in Texas, 10 units in Florida, 10 units in New York. So I have 40 doors, but I have to travel to check in on my investments. I have 4 different contractors in 4 different states, all these different laws. So I'm all spread out if I'm invested horizontally. Invested vertically, maybe I have 40 doors right here in San Diego, but natural disaster, economic downturn, I could be, you know, my entire investment or nest egg can be wiped out. So there's no right or wrong, but it's a great way of asking your client without saying, so do you like to invest locally or do you like to invest outside of the state? Which, again, it just doesn't have the fire to encourage them to give you more information. Whereas this question, I love it because usually if it stumps somebody, if they don't know, the best thing to do is set an appointment. Maybe right now isn't the best time for us to talk about that, regardless of what question you've asked. Maybe we can set up a time where we can go into this more deeply. Monday at 1 o'clock or Tuesday at 3 o'clock work better for you. But that last question, I'm just going to touch on this before I go to the next part. Let me ask, are you looking only at properties on the market, or are you looking for a good deal? What are they going to say to that? What are investors going to say to that? To that question, that last question. A good deal. Everyone's looking for a good deal. Everyone's looking for a good deal. Perfect. Now, you just met them. You don't even know their last name. If you, let's say you had a good deal, would you send a good deal to somebody that you had no relationship with? No, of course not, right? And if you would, change your answer, because it's no, we're not going to do that. We're not sending our good, sweet deals to people that we have no relationship with. So again, what do they need to do? They need to set an appointment. So I say all that because I know that having the right language when we're calling people, it's a hardship. It's hard to come up with this sort of stuff. And you may have a good script. You may even be able to change the script up and make it rock. Personally, I'm not that guy. That's not what I do. Speak well with people. I can make a friend with anybody, but I know that this script will bring and attract people to you. So I would suggest that you use it. Like I said, we're going to send it out to you, but you want to make sure that you have this close and that you practice it. Why don't we like using scripts? And I know the answer that everybody's going to say it's because it makes us sound like a robot, right? So practice this. You say it 10 times, and I guarantee you after that, you won't have to look at it, and you'll be able to start working through it and actually ingraining it in yourself. Now, someone had asked earlier about meeting commercial brokers. When we call a commercial broker, say we get a call from a client who is it's a past client, and they're looking for a let's say we helped them with residential. Now they're looking for a restaurant. They want us to call Michael Simpson because he has this listing on 123 Main Street. They want us to get the information. What do we call and ask for? Anybody know? Financials, yeah. Sales package, getting close. Setup package, marketing package, offering memorandum. These are the more common terms that that commercial brokers use when we're calling to ask for information. I say setup. It doesn't matter who I'm calling. I say setup all the time. Can I see a setup package? But you can use these interchangeably. Offering memorandum is a little more formal, but the call would go a little something like this. Hi, this is Stephen with the NCREA Commercial Division. I was calling about the property, Michael, that you have listed on 123 Main Street. I wanted to see, 1, is it still available? 2, do you have any offers? And 3, see if you could send me a setup package. Oh, and by the way, how would you like that offer? Would you like it on a CAR agreement, an AIR agreement, or will you accept an LOI? The main thing about that script, I'm sorry, I'm on my commercial summit at the same time. Not a problem, Angela. We're all multitasking because we can. But the main part about that script is you just don't want to sound residential. I know that sounds bad, but it's just the truth. You guys, we're dealing with commission levels that are so astronomically high that people don't want to work with somebody that isn't going to help them get the deal closed. And I hear a lot, well, Stephen, I'm a quick learner. I can do this, I can do that. Yeah, and I'm sure you are, but most commercial agents are going to tell you, well, you can learn on somebody else's dime, or you can learn with somebody else's deal, because I don't want to lose this one and look back in front of the client that I've worked so hard to work with. So whenever I make that call, whenever you make that call, you want to sound confident, competent. That's it. And you just want to get along, especially if you're calling on a listing. That's why I asked them, how would you like to do this? Would you like it on a CAR agreement, an AIR agreement, or will you accept an LOI? We all have access to CAR and our agreements in there. You can actually get AIR agreements through Zip Forms. It's like a token system, or you can pay for it for the year. You can join as well, but they'll have all the contracts that you need. And sometimes you'll hear a commercial broker say, hey, don't send me any of that residential stuff. They don't want a CAR agreement. They want it on an AIR contract because they're more comfortable with that. Most of these full-time commercial firms aren't members of CAR or NAR, so they'll join AIR. We all know what a letter of intent is. I actually give you a copy of our letter of intent in this presentation or in the packet. So, and you can use that. Obviously you want to check with your broker, your manager, your counsel if you're independent. The best thing about the LOI, I hate paperwork. I'm not good at it, meaning I just don't like to do it. LOI usually has all the main deal points that we're looking for, that the buyer and seller are most interested in. Yes, most of the time it's not binding, but it'll allow them to get into the property since they're subject to interior inspection, see if they want it, and then we'll go to a full-blown purchase agreement. So that is speaking to commercial brokers. I don't know, I think it was Carlos that asked about meeting them. I don't know if that helps, but hopefully it does. You just want to sound confident. I want to get along, and you want to sound confident and competent when working with them. And just flip it around. How many of us like to work with agents, even on residential deals, that don't know what they're doing? It's not a fun place to be. I'm going to start motoring through some of this. This is a sample of the software that you get when you attend our 3-day. You can set up these nice little marketing packages really quick. It's pretty cumbersome software, meaning that it can do a lot. It's really powerful, but it'll with just entering in a few things, it'll break these things down for you. I did want to go over this math portion. This is a buyer ROI analysis. Now, you guys, I'm not trying to teach you the math. I would recommend you can go to our website, thencrea.com. Michael and I are teaching a 4-part series via Zoom, and I'm teaching a 1-day math class several times in 2021 that you're more than welcome to come through. So I'm just going to walk you through this, but the numbers are everything, right? You would agree with me. The numbers are everything. So if I go through this and you don't really understand it, but commercial is something that you want to get better at, you may want to look into taking one of those classes or into getting that information, partnering up with somebody who can go through this and explain it to you. But what I'm going to do, I'm having an issue where I can't get my pointer to come up, but I'm going to start at the price. So we're in this first column. What you're looking at is assumptions. Assumptions are any picture that you want to paint. We have current rents, market rents, and the seller carry. We're starting with the price. Price is $750. Down payment is 25%. So we're just going to take that 750 minus 187.5, which is 25% to get our first trust deed of 562.5. Now this is an older deal, so I'm using 9%. I'm amortizing the 9% over 30 years. If you don't know how to amortize a loan, HP12C, I wouldn't recommend going out and learning how to use that calculator, but you can get an app on your phone that will do this. The only thing I warn about with those financial apps is all these numbers are annualized. So if it cranks out a monthly number, you're going to want to multiply it by 12 so you can get the annual number. But we're amortizing this loan at 9% over 30 years to drop down here toward the middle of the page to get our debt service payment, which is $54,312. And then we're just finishing the column. We're going to use the scheduled gross income of the property, which is all the rents and income added up and annualized or multiplied by 12 to give us our annual number of 8830. We're using a 5% vacancy factor. So 8830 minus 4,000 gives us our GOI, minus 35% gives us our NOI. From there, you can divide the NOI by the debt service to get your debt coverage ratio of 1.0. You can subtract your NOI minus the debt service to give you your cash flow. And then if you use the glossary of terms, just if you're reviewing this or looking at this, how did he come up with that number? You can go to the Not sure what's going on there. Hey, Jennifer, are you there? Can anybody hear me? There you go. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Just double checking. Let me go back. So the numbers are everything. Again, the property value is based on the income. And so if we're not doing these numbers correctly, everything's going to be different. Cap rate, gross rent multiplier, all these numbers are going to be different. So how important is this? Obviously very important. But let me point out a couple of things in that. That's why I brought this up. Vacancy and expense factor. Write this down. There are two things that change our vacancy and expense factor, and that's area and product type. So what does that mean? And the lender is the one. This is really strange. I've never had this problem before. LA or maybe I was up in San Francisco. Those are densely populated areas. They're going to be using, closer to 5% because vacancy rates are going to be low. Never really lower than that, but they're going to be using about 5%. But but if I go out to, let's say, Texas, and I go to a rural area, cows, barns, it's really spread out. I go out to the IE or like Marietta, Temecula, more spread out. And actually, that's probably a bad example because that's starting to build up a lot. But the vacancy factor is going to be a little higher. Who do we talk to? Who do we call to see what factors that we'll use? We're going to call our lenders. Expenses. We were talking about the master metered properties. So those expenses are going to be higher. They're going to use 50%. If we're talking about a triple net lease, or a triple net leased investment, what is that? Tenant pays TIM, taxes, insurance, and maintenance. It's not going to be zero though. It's a lot of times we talk about that, those types of properties that we say, oh, well, they're going to pay for, the tenant's going to pay for everything, but they're not going to pay for everything. They're going to pay for specific things. And so the lender may use 10%. Regardless, whenever we're looking at a deal, one of the first people that we call is our lender. This is what we're looking at. What sort, how am I going to analyze this? We want to analyze it through the eyes of the lender. Last thing you should know is the debt coverage ratio. And I know I'm going quick, but I don't want to run out of time on you guys. So the debt coverage ratio, minimum debt coverage ratio is about, in the industry right now, is about 1.25. And that's with multifamily. There's a pyramid of risk. Multifamily is at the bottom, hospitality, office, land, even, and all that other stuff is in the middle. Hard cash is up at the top. So with the minimum debt coverage ratio of 1.25, what does that mean with this deal? Let's say this was multifamily, the debt coverage ratio is too low. If my NOI was 120 $5,000 and my debt service payment was $100,000, you divide those two, that would be a 1.25. It's a bucket, basically $1.25 for every dollar that you have to pay. You want to have that in reserve, or the lender is requiring that you have that. And there are only 3 ways to raise the debt coverage ratio. Again, write this down: 3 ways to raise the debt coverage ratio. Either the buyer comes in with more money down, the seller takes a hit on the price and lowers the price, or they do some sort of seller financing option. There's really no other way to raise the debt coverage ratio. A lot of times you'll hear, well, Stephen, will just raise the rents. Yeah, you can raise the rents, but you're probably going to put off the sale of the property for a year, because those new rents, the lender is going to require that they're seasoned. And if they're not going to do the loan. So too low of a debt coverage ratio, it's a dead deal. You got to do one of those 3 things. Now, I know there's probably questions on that. We're running short on time, so I don't necessarily spend time on this, but if you do want to learn this, again, we do teach it. You can come out to our classes, or reach out to Shirley and Jennifer, and we'll come back and teach class here. But again, these numbers are vital to the deal. I did want to show you before we ended, in your book or in the handout that you're going to get is our confidentiality agreement that you can review and pick through. But what does the confidentiality agreement protect? Protects our commission. Remember, in commercial, people are used to signing things. These men and women are business professionals, and if they're not going to sign, they're probably not going to work with you anyway. We just had a call before Thanksgiving with an investor that we're working with, and they're looking for property here in Garden Grove and the surrounding areas. But the conversation about the confidentiality agreement, to be honest with you, it came at the very end of the conversation. It was more of a throwaway comment where it's just like, hey, well, we're going to send over a confidentiality agreement so we can get to work. Yeah, send that over. We'll get it signed. We'll send it back to you. It's really not that big of a deal, so don't build it up too much. Make sure you're getting these signed and you're not running around working with buyers and sellers who aren't going to be loyal to you, or at least pay you for the work that you do. Here's the LOI. That is in your book. I'm going to breeze through this real quick, and then I'll probably have about 5 minutes. I can stay on. I don't know if Jennifer, if you have to go right away, but I can stay on and answer any questions for a little bit after we're done. But I did want to show you this because we only do this once a year. We have our advanced course that is actually next week. You are more than welcome to attend if you have time. I will be honest though, if you are newer, this is advanced commercial real estate. It will sink in though, but since it's next week and we only do this once a year, if you were interested, I don't want you to have to wait till next December to take it. So I did want to offer you this and let you know. This is custom marketing plan that we will go over. This is what we show our investors, what this looks like for them in detail. We will be going through all these different places that we go and how we market their property once we do take a listing. We'll show you how to prepare and develop a flexible flow for your business. We've done a lot, you guys. We've done everything from helping people step into commercial to helping people restructure their business and make sure they have more time to do the things that they need to do while maintaining their residential business, which is probably thriving, and building a commercial sector. So we will go over that. Social media. We have tons of guest speakers that come in on this. Here's some of the software that we not only give out, but go over with you. Everybody's looking for tools. But I'm really big on leading with revenue. You guys, I don't feel that people should have to go out and spend a whole bunch of money on all these tools that they don't necessarily know how to do, because those costs can be so high that you end up losing the motivation to actually do this stuff because you're not making any money right away. So we have all kinds of workarounds for you. Talking about the benefits of renting to own, we do that in residential, but How do you door knock in commercial? And we actually go through that and show you how you can do that and actually make money with it. Now, I am going to show you this $1 trillion deal. These are market analyses that we'll go over with Michael. You see the recovery, expansion, supply, super supply down at the bottom. Well, this is an old chart, but these are used by not only investors, but also by brokers on where they should be investing and how and why and what's going on with the market. We'll go over these different strategies, where you get these different tools and how you use them. They call this the $1 trillion business opportunity because of all of the business that is out there when it comes to commercial. I really think the playing field is being leveled in that if you are willing to do the work, there is opportunity for you. More importantly, there are people that want to work with you. But knowing how to work with them is the hardest, but the easiest part. Once you're pointed in the right direction, you probably know a couple people that you should be calling in order to get business from them. So the cost of the course is normally $597. I did put a discount on that. I can have Jennifer, I don't know if I can put this in the chat, or I do have a link for them if they did want to check it out. I'll put that in the chat. But if you have information or if you have questions on any of this, I know we're going quick, you can reach out to me at info@thencrea.com. You can check out that link. I believe I knocked off $100 on that since the class is next week. But we do have our regular 3-day course that we will be teaching again next March if you wanted to go to that instead of going to the advanced course, but you're really set up to where you can take both of them. Now, my last couple minutes, I'm just going to go over the 3 different types of investors, because in my mind, I used to think if they're buying a commercial building, they're a commercial investor. I was really missing a lot of opportunities. This is the ROI investor. I think I have this blown up. So I'm just, this middle section where it says 12 months operating data, I'm just blowing this up. We have this investor who we're typing up all the, we're typing up the agreement or the contract to make the offer. And he's looking at this and he's like, 2%. Stephen, why am I doing this? 2%. And if you don't have the answer to that, what is that investor going to do? You're writing up the contract. You don't have the answer to why they're investing in this property. He's looking at the return being 2.76%. If you don't have the answer to that, he's probably going to walk, right? So we reminded him of the benefits of owning real estate. The benefits of owning real estate are taxes saved, interest paid, principal reduction, and depreciation. And we have those benefits all the time, regardless of what's going on in the market. We always have those benefits. Appreciation is one of those benefits that comes and goes, and it's not even really safe for us to talk about. But when you take in those other benefits into account, your return is actually higher. In California, the before tax returns are normally, they're just really low. They're garbage for most investors. They're just not enticing. So this math is actually what I'm going back to teach later today, is on the after-tax return for the seller. And we're just taking the, like those things that I said, the taxes paid, the interest, or the taxes saved, the interest paid. We're depreciating the building using a straight line method, which is 27.5 years for multifamily or residential or multifamily. So 1 unit to 1,000 units, all considered residential when it comes to depreciation. With commercial, it's 39 years. But we're just using the straight line method to depreciate the building. We're assuming their tax bracket is 33% and taking the taxes saved. And then we're coming back to this form and just plugging those numbers in to actually show that the after-tax return is actually closer to 7.97%. And once we showed him that, he pretended that he knew it all along. And he said, yeah, go ahead, write it up. That's why I'm doing it. But again, it's just a way to get somebody off the fence, especially those investors who are investing for the future. They're looking for their return. They want to maximize their return all the time. This investor here was actually a flipper, wasn't even buying commercial real estate. They're buying single family homes. But he wasn't looking at his return. He was buying these properties for 250, selling them for 280. This was up in Northern California. And his cash flow is about $30,000. So if you take the cash flow divided by the down payment, you actually see his return is about 12%. So what we recommended was, instead of paying all cash, why wasn't he leveraging? Leverage by putting 50% down, still selling at 280. And again, remember, interest rates are lower than cap rates, right? So even at that low interest rate and having some hold time on that property, which he didn't really have, but he had, let's say he had to make a few payments, his return would actually almost double if he did that. More importantly, he still had another $125,000 in the account, or in his bank account, that he could use to invest in another property. So when we gave him this suggestion, we knew his goal, in order to reach his FFP, or financial freedom point, it was going to take him about 10 years. And we're able to cut that down to 7 by using this strategy and what he was already doing. So I like to bring this up just to say, I know we're talking about commercial real estate, but we're also, when we say investors, we're talking about investors, and they're doing all sorts of things. So don't pigeonhole yourself in thinking that there's nobody in your residential portfolio who doesn't already line up with where you want to go. This sort of individual could be consulted and talked to about doing this exact same thing with multifamily once they had a safe enough nest egg. And then here's the final investor. This is what the grid concept is absolutely based on: diminishing return on equity. This was a doctor who had bought this property for $1 million. Loan balance was $750, equity was $250, cash flow was $25,000. Fast forward to the future, the value of the property actually increased from 1 million to 1.8. And is it safe to say that a property could appreciate from 1 million to 1.8? Well, especially here in California, just with enough time, that's probably going to happen. But he hadn't paid the loan balance down too much. It only went down to 650. But look at all this equity due to the appreciation that had collected. And this is where that term dead equity comes from. A lot of times investors think that having their property paid off free and clear and being debt free, all those things are actually working in their favor, but sometimes they're not, depending on what their goals are. And in his situation, we showed him that originally when he bought this property, if you look at the year purchase line and you do that same equation, ROI divided by down payment, or ROI divided by equity, or sorry, cash flow divided by equity, you actually see his return initially was 10%. Until he hit that 50% mark. So once it got to about 500,000, or he hit the halfway mark between or for 1 million, so about 900,000. Once he hit that point, his return started to diminish, and now you see with his equity at 1.1 to 50, with a cash flow of 50,000, it's actually closer to 4%. Return on equity, and it's going to keep on going down until he decides to do what? So until he decides to sell. Now, if you're dealing with an investor who's living off of that $50,000, they need that for expenses and things of that nature, then this situation doesn't work for them. Absolutely, but not everybody's in that situation. So this is a great prospecting tool for people who are sitting in this equity position to actually start approaching them. In this situation, last point that I'll make, in this situation, after we finished, his CPA and his lawyer were there, and he kind of looks at the documents and looks at his CPA and he says, "Is this real? Is this true? Is this what's happening?" And his CPA was like, "Yeah, no, we need to do this." And so he says, "Okay, Michael, Stephen, do you have the contract?" "Yeah, we have it," signed it, and he gave it to his CPA. He's like, "Okay, you guys finish the meeting. I got to go." So we finished the meeting with his CPA and his lawyer. And I like to end it on that point, in that, like I said, there are investors that are out there. A lot of them are busy. A lot of them are looking for people that they can trust. And more importantly, they're probably looking for you. You probably already have these relationships. So if you are interested in doing this full time, adding this as part of your portfolio of services, I encourage you to seek knowledge, seek partnership, seek feedback from people so that you can grow. I do have another call to go to, but I have all the time in the world to answer any questions. But Jennifer, I know that you are short on time as well. So if there are any questions, I'm going to check the chat. Let me know. I hope this has been helpful. Can you let me know? Put that in the chat. Let me know if this has been helpful. If you enjoyed this, if you have any other questions, I'll get those answered. But that's my presentation, and thank you. All right, Carissa, how much does cost per square foot under formulas and calculations? I'm still not sure exactly what you mean, but I think you're talking about cost per square foot and what is the calculation for that. So it'd just be the price and the building size. You just divide those two, but I want to make sure that I'm answering that question correctly. So please clarify for me. Thank you, Ken. I really appreciate it. I was trying to go quick. It's a lot of information. I don't want to, I know it's kind of overwhelming, but you guys wash, rinse, and repeat. That buyer's ROI analysis with the 3 columns, just a pro tip. When I was on Michael's team and I was learning this stuff, he would give me 5 of those, 5 addresses in CoStar, LoopNet, or on the MLS for me to look up. And I would break down properties, 5 or 6 properties in those 3 different columns every single day, Monday through Saturday, before my prospecting. It really is, repetition is the only way to really get to know this stuff. And I know that we want repetition on deals. I want to do more and more deals. Yes, that comes. But before then, practice, practice, practice. I'm here for you if you do want to practice. Like I said, we have free training events all the time. So you're more than welcome to come out. I'm going to talk with Shirley and North San Diego Association and see if we can do more classes with you. But I really appreciate your time. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, Jennifer, I think we are good.
All righty, great. Thank you so much, Stephen. And yes, this has been recorded, so it will be available on our nsdcartv.com website for you to review later.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Have a wonderful holiday. I'm going to put real quickly, I'm just going to put my website in the chat so you guys can check us out there. Join our Facebook group. Jennifer, let me know if you guys want me back. I can definitely do this all day. And we will see you guys at the top.
Awesome. Have a wonderful day.
All right. See you. Bye now.
Bye.